The Water Institute, actually the idea for the Water Institute was born about 10 years ago, where groups of faculty got together and were challenged with problems that went beyond their own disciplines. So the water problems are getting so complex that just an engineer or just a scientist or just a lawyer can't put all the pieces together needed to provide a solution. So faculty started talking about establishing an institute that would bring together all the disciplines. The types of issues that the Water Institute deals with are typically those that are broader than a single discipline. And you can see these by picking up a newspaper any day of the week. You know, recently in Florida, the drought that has affected Lake Okeechobee, and that has implications for the Everglades restoration. It has implications for agriculture, it has implications for public water supply. So our goal is to provide the fundamental understanding, the technologies, and the policy alternatives so that when we're confronted with an issue, we don't unknowingly trade off consequences between, say, water users. We don't have the ecosystem suffer because the urban area wants more water, or we don't have wetlands drained because we want to pump more groundwater, or we don't take water from one region of the state or the country and transfer it to another, and with it transfer unintended consequences. So we try to build from the science, the physical and the biological and the chemical sciences to understand those interactions. Then we try to understand how humans' attitudes and perceptions about water affects the way they use it, design policies, pricing strategies, engineering technologies that help us use water more efficiently and with less water quality impacts and less downstream ecosystem impacts. Once we have all those pieces put together, then we can look at scenarios and decision makers can play those out. If the climate changes like this, we expect the ecosystem to respond like that. Our goal is to provide the policymakers with the understanding and the tools they need to make the decisions. We're not the decision makers, we're the knowledge makers. We're really getting to the point where people understand that we have a limited resource and a growing population, and that sets up a conflict. We have lots of users of water in Florida and in the world. The ecosystem was using water before humans made their impact on the landscape. So there is a natural competition between the development of cities and the maintenance of agriculture and maintenance of the natural ecosystems. It doesn't necessarily have to be a win-lose situation, and what we're looking for is situations where we can use the minimum amount of water and the water of the appropriate quality for the use we need. So for drinking water, that's the highest quality water. We only need 2 liters a day. For watering our lawns, there's really no reason that we should be putting drinking water on our lawns. There's got to be a better way, a lower energy cost way and a more efficient way to use our water than that. It's a challenge to go from laboratory understanding to field understanding to decision making, and that's what we're trying to do in the Water Institute. Florida has a very dynamic hydrologic system. We have intense rainy periods. We have the Floridan Aquifer, which is one of the most productive aquifers in the world. We have the Everglades, which is one of the most unique wetland ecosystems in the world. And we have a population that's projected to increase faster than either the national population or the global population over the next 20 or 30 years. So all of that produces a unique mix. We're a great place to try to develop knowledge and test solutions to becoming a sustainable society. We need to gather information about human behaviors. We need to gather information about climate. We need to gather information about water levels and stream flows. We need to gather information about ecosystem and estuary behavior. So all that is very expensive and much more expensive than a typical National Science Foundation grant would support.
The Water Institute is very young. Continued private funding is crucial to the future of our work.
I don't know why water wouldn't be the most important thing to everybody. When I look around at the rivers and springs of this area and I see the changes happening, it's important to me to understand it and then to understand the trade-offs associated with how we live. There's no free lunch. If humans are going to move around on this earth, we're going to have an impact on our water and the ecosystems that it supports. But it's important to me to understand what those trade-offs are so we know what they are. And we know when we choose this sort of lifestyle, these are the consequences. And I think we'll make good decisions if we understand those trade-offs. My vision for the University of Florida Water Institute is that we would have the capacity to do the laboratory experiments, to do the field experiments, to bring all that data together in a unified statewide database, to put into models that could predict the interactions between all the aspects of the system, and that we would be able to bring decision makers together in multimedia decision theater and allow them to make different choices and look at the impacts. So I can see that we would bring our knowledge and our models and our data together to really have an impact on the future of Florida's water.